Okay. This is Live from the Table, the official podcast of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, coming at you on Sirius XM 99, Raw Comedy, formerly known as Raw Dog. They just changed their name. This is Dan Natterman, and I'm with Noam Dwarman, the owner of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, and Periel Aschenbrand is with us, our producer, and we have with us in studio Laura High. Laura High is a recently passed Comedy Cellar comedian, and she's also an actress and a TikToker and a podcaster and does everything that you're supposed to do nowadays. Hello, Laura.
Hello, thank you. I gotta say, I mean, as much as I love doing TikTok, there always is a little bit of a I do TikTok. I do.
Well, that's where everything is.
What are you talking about? My daughter loves TikTok.
I do. I love it. I do. But it feels like when I'm always talking to like stand-up comics, there's always oh, you do TikTok, really? Like there always is like that's still like it's a little bit of a judgmental territory when it comes to stand-up comedy. But you know what?
Was anybody not doing TikTok? Everybody's doing TikTok.
Oh, not everyone's doing TikTok. Some people are not doing it out of protest.
Oh, okay.
Because of the Chinese?
Because I think on principle. I think there's a lot of comics who are just like, I refuse to do TikTok just off of principle that I just don't want to do it. But it is like, I always tell comics that you should do it. TikTok, Reels on Instagram, it's literally made for stand-up comics. I think we can understand the formula of it better than almost anybody else. I understand it's a pain in the ass to get your social media together. Like, I totally get it. But what you get from it, if you learn how to do it, can just pay out so much in terms of your comedy career. I mean, I've gotten booked as a headliner just based off of my follower accounts.
How many followers do you have?
I have on TikTok, I've got 616,000 followers.
Wow.
On Instagram, I've got I think 69,000 followers, and then on Facebook, I have something in the 70,000.
So would you wear a Bring the Hostages Home T-shirt on your TikTok account?
Oh.
Sorry, Periel. Go ahead.
No. By all means, answer.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, wait. Anyway, look, first of all, as I said, Laura's recently passed. In other words, she auditioned for Esty, the booker, just a couple of weeks ago. Esty gave her the thumbs up.
Definitely wear this when you talk to Esty. Go ahead.
Esty gave her the thumbs up. And, of course, Laura, I must tell you that just because you're passed doesn't mean now it's a free ride. You have to, you have to bring it. Because many people get passed here, and you never hear from me after one or two times on stage, and then it's like the Bermuda Triangle.
I don't want to say which comic said this to me, but what I was told by another comic, because I was very honest, because obviously I was on my first two shows, which were last week, you could definitely tell I was a little bit nervous because it's the Cellar. Can I swear?
Sure.
Okay?
Well, it's
cool.
the internet.
I was
and Raw Dog.
I was like, holy shit! This is the Cellar. I know what I'm here for. I know what this is. I'm not taking this opportunity for granted. And one of the comics I think gave me the best piece of advice. I'm not going to say who it was, but he was like, he's like, just letting you know, you are on probation for the next 6 months. And he was like, they're gonna watch every single one of your tapes. You have to
Wait, that's not.
That's what he said.
No, Noam's the owner, and he's obviously
they're fucking with you.
I have to. Well, here's the thing. I take that seriously because. Well, here's the thing. I do know that I'm getting watched to see if I actually live up to my audition, and so I wanted to be like, okay, no, that's fair.
Let me tell you what happens. We have a chat with a bunch of waitresses. and it's called Comedians. Just let me know about anybody who's not doing well.
Okay, see that you shouldn't
it's
tell
a WhatsApp group
because now I'm just gonna bring cupcakes to all the goddamn waitresses. So I'm like, okay, that's how
that
we do it.
will
There we
work,
go. Now I just gotta bribe the waitresses.
Waitresses. Are you getting an honest opinion out of the waitresses? She brings up a good point. If they're friends with us, they don't want to drop dime on us.
It's not a bunch of weight, but it's a few people have been there for a very long time. Some managers. Whatever.
And then you do the occasional spot check. I see you sometimes poke your head in.
Well, sometimes when I get a complaint from a customer, I will ask for the tape to watch it.
But I see you sometimes watch the show every now and again. You poke your head.
Yeah, I watch the show, but there's nobody watching your tape every night. That's crazy. Who's got the time to do that?
between all
It's
the
a little.
emails.
As a matter of fact, it's almost a little narcissistic. You even believe it.
I'm a comic, so there's always a little bit of narcissism in it. It's like the fact that I'm like, oh yeah, no, people totally want me to take up a mic and listen to like all of my like, half-baked stories of my idea. There is always a little bit of narcissism with us. But again, like, I'm sitting there like, fucking nervous. So it's like, okay, no, but I will say it gave me fuel and a little bit of like, definitely like make sure like, okay, really make a good impression in the next few months. Make sure that I'm not like what the comic suggested to me was like, don't try any of your new fucking bullshit. Just do your
That's
shit.
good. That's good advice.
And was just like, don't do any of your new bullshit. Just go in and kill it for the next few months. And he's like, let them know that you are here, because he's like, for the comics who like come here and kind of like don't really take it seriously, they stop getting booked after a few months. And that was good advice. And I would have.
Now, can I ask you a question there? Why would you? What mental planet are you on that you would actually need somebody to tell you that? Isn't that like completely intuitive? Like you're booked at a comedy
I'm
club.
not so sure.
Yeah, let me give you some good advice. When you're there, try to do a good job. Do your funny material.
You know what? But
Like, thank you for telling me, because I was just gonna wing it.
as obvious as that sounds, I don't know that every club really pays strict attention to that.
It doesn't matter. Like you should on your own. You
Yeah,
should know.
but the comics come here also to do new jokes, so to practice new jokes. So you have to find that balance between my new joke.
I got hired as a chef at this 5-star restaurant.
but
Okay, listen. Here's my advice.
But
The
you've
first
made,
is
you've
you
made
should
your
really try to
point.
make the food well.
Well, all right. How many more analogies are you gonna?
No, I totally agree with you. Like I would have done that
I got
on
a job
my
in a
own.
massage parlor. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but the difference being is that comics come here in addition to entertaining the crowd to work out new jokes. So you have to find a balance between new shit and killing.
No.
I don't think new comics come here to try out new jokes. People who have been here, like David Tell maybe comes to try new jokes. But
David Tell's a genius.
Right, that's what I'm saying, though. I don't think that most people are coming here to. You even said yourself
Well,
that you don't love trying.
I don't love it, but I do it because that's part of the.
Yeah,
part of the-
if you're doing well, you have to sneak in new jokes, of course.
But that's also why you book some shows that are also sort of like, I would say, a little bit like less high stakes. And that's why you like, I always make sure that I have shows that are like a little bit of a little smaller, that I can kind of like more
Like at the Stand or
safely-
Gotham.
That is, y'all are trying to really screw me over with some other, and we're not going to do that. But that's why you also book some of those smaller shows to make sure that like you get those reps in, you get that practice in. I mean, I'm somebody who like I have like massive ADHD. So for me, I still go to some open mics every once in a while. If like there's a joke I'm still literally trying to like get out of my mouth, that I go to it just so that I can say it. So that I can ensure the fact that when I am on a paid show, I can do my job as best as I can. And I know that there's a lot of comics who are like, I would never go to an open mic ever again. And I'm like, it's not a pride thing. It's a job thing. I want to ensure that I can do the job as best
Well,
as
there
I
is a
can.
new joke night here that I assume you're aware of, and
Sure, we can pretend like I totally knew that, and we can.
oh, you don't. You didn't? What?
No, I was clearing my throat.
Okay.
Actually, just clearing my throat.
Okay, no, there's a new joke night here, right? It's
Yes, of
Monday
course
night.
there is,
I
yes.
think you have to talk to Liz or something. I don't
Will
know. I never
Sylvanus.
do it. I just slip a new joke in the regular show.
I still wouldn't do new jokes that I've never, because I just know myself well enough. I would never do a brand new, I just wrote this joke now, I've never done it in front of an audience at a Cellar show. That's just something I don't feel comfortable with, because I just know myself well enough that I need like some time, because otherwise, like as you can tell with my speech, I stumble really easily. And if I'm doing, again, a show of a certain caliber, I just can't do that.
Now, how many spots have you done at the Cellar?
2 so far, and then I just got booked for my next 2.
And how did they go?
They went well. It was a ton of fun. Actually, after my very, very first set, was in the Underground. Totally sold out show, and I took the bullet. I was very first up, so obviously, like I was like, okay, we're gonna do it. I got off the stage, and then the server came up to me about, I want to say like 5 minutes after my set, and said, audience member wanted me to give this to you, and it was a napkin that said, I loved your set. It was so amazing to see you. Thank you so much. I loved all of your material. And that just fucking, put me on a different level of just pure joy. And so obviously I'm framing that napkin.
Oh,
That
you
was-
should. That's
You
nice.
should frame that napkin. That's great.
That was literally after the very, very first set, and that was really cool.
Well, I've been coming here since the 90s, never got a napkin. I want to talk. I invited Laura here specifically because she has an absolutely fascinating backstory that I guess you can recount it, or I can summarize it. Or no, I guess.
No, totally. I'm happy to do that. So I would say my tight 5 and what I did for my audition and what I am known for the most on the social media is I'm a sperm donor baby. And so I do, so that's my type 5 is all about me being a sperm donor baby, donor conception. And then I do funny skits on TikTok, on Instagram, basically breaking down how basically unethical the fertility industry is. So that's kind of like, my fun thing that I am the most known for. There is lots of video footage of me actually running around the city in a sperm costume, interviewing people and asking them, hey, what do you know about the fertility industry?
Well, that first video I saw of Laura is a video wherein she talks about how everybody asked her if she was Jewish, and she always said no.
Yep.
Because she didn't know her sperm donor father was Jewish.
No, because so I was made in New York City. I was conceived in 1987, born in 1988, and I was made when parents weren't allowed to pick their donor. Like they can nowadays. I mean, that's also like that's a whole nother conversation about like sometimes not really. But basically what the clinic said was we're going to find a donor that matches my dad as best we could between like hair color, eye color, ethnicity. And this clinic, now my parents didn't pick the clinic for this reason. This was just how this clinic operated. They said the number one thing we match up before anything else is religion. Now my dad, Irish, Scottish, and Catholic.
And he couldn't have a baby.
No, both my parents had fertility issues. My mom's could be fixed. My father's could not. And that was like the hard rule that they're like, no, we never break this rule. We never, ever do. So I'm born, and so we know nothing about my donor, except my mom is like, yep, this is Scottish, Irish, and it definitely Catholic. So I started getting asked when I was, I want to say people started assuming that I was Jewish probably at 11, 12 years old. People were like, so you're Jewish. And I'm like,
Now,
no.
what quality of yours do you think clued them in?
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
What anti-Semitic thing did your parents constantly tell you that you noticed in yourself?
Oh, it wasn't my parents. It was literally everywhere.
No,
everybody else.
Where did you grow up? You have a little bit of a southern.
No, Westchester.
Where in Westchester?
Rye, New York.
Oh, I grew up in. Oh, that's Albert. I grew up in Ardsley.
So you're getting harassed by those guys every Hanukkah that say, "Are you Jewish?" And they want you to do a prayer or something. Those guys.
I do a bit on it. But I actually I remember when I was like really young. Some like punk guys came up to me and they looked at me and they were like, "How did you escape from the camps?"
Jesus.
I didn't know what to say.
I've never even gotten that.
I was like, I didn't know. I had no clue what
You
they
thought
meant.
they meant summer camp?
So all I told them was like, I faked a fever and my mom picked me up. I had no clue what that meant.
That really happened?
Yes, and it's
Jesus.
become more and more, and it became more and more real as I got older. You guys remember the Toys R Us in Times Square? So I used to work there. And there was another member there who was another member of my team who was also Jewish, and he spoke I believe like Yiddish, Hebrew. I apologize, I don't know. And so whenever we had like members of the Hasidic community come in, he would always talk to them. Always went great. And
Yiddish,
then they would Yiddish. Yeah. Okay. Then he would come up. Then they would come up to my floor because I was always on the second floor. They would see me and start speaking Yiddish to me. And I would go, I'm so sorry, I don't speak Yiddish. And they were like, oh no worries, but you are Jewish. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they would all look at me and go, what? They were like, they would look at me in a way that they were like, child, are you okay? Do we need to take you back? Like, are you safe? Are you lost? Did someone kidnap you? Are we in trouble? Are we not telling the truth here? And it happened over and over again to the extent that it was just like, okay, maybe we didn't get the full truth, Mom. Maybe.
Now, you always knew you were a sperm donor baby?
I knew when I was, my parents told me when I was 14 years old.
Oh, my God. Well, okay, let's pause there.
Yeah.
How devastating was that?
It wasn't. Was not devastating.
But you are your mother's biological daughter.
I am my mother's biological. I was it gave me a weird sense of confidence because I swear to God, I knew something the fuck was up. I knew, I was like, was I adopted? Was I switched at birth?
You always had.
Always. I knew something was up. And it's the same thing for a lot of donor conceived people.
Just because you felt you didn't look like your father?
I never pegged it as a sperm donor on my own. Like that to me was like out of my realm of thinking, but like I knew something was up and I could, I can't explain it enough. I can't explain it well enough, but it was like, I could sense that something was off. I could tell that there was just something.
Between you and your father?
No,
in general,
in general. I couldn't specifically say like my dad. It was just, there was something off in general and I couldn't place it. So as soon as that was told to me, it was this feeling of like, I saw the Matrix. I was like, everything made sense. I was like, I fucking knew it. And
how did they tell you?
But how could you just, this is a devastating thing to find.
It's not devastating. It for me, it wasn't. Because for me, that doesn't take away anything from my dad. My dad's my dad. And it literally for me, it really, like it was, that piece of it really was fine for me. I really was. There were other elements of my donor conception that have been devastating. That one wasn't.
The being Jewish part?
No, I loved that actually. You kidding? I grew up in Westchester. I went to more bar and bar mitzvahs than Sweet 16s. I was like, yes. Biggest love being part of this culture and this ethnicity. I mean, I'm most certainly a guest in that house, but having some connection is just wonderful. But no,
you're more Jewish than my kids, for God's sakes. But go ahead.
But no, it really wasn't. It for me, it was, that didn't take anything away from my dad being my dad. My dad will always be my dad, and that didn't change anything for me. What was devastating for me was finding out later in life as a 30-year-old that I have siblings out there that I didn't know about, and that relationship was taken from all of us our entire life. That is what has been devastating.
But can we rewind just a bit?
Sure.
You found out you were a sperm donor at 14?
Yes.
And then at what point did you decide I need to take a test to see if my father is
So you
Jewish?
For me, now do remember that like DNA tests like when I was like 14 and that didn't exist. Like, I mean, that wasn't there. So it became available, like DNA tests, I would say like Ancestry, 23andMe, like started popping up like, I want to say like it started popping up somewhere when I was in like late college. I want to say maybe early 20 something.
Yeah, like 2010,
something like that. And that was, I can't remember what year it was, but like I think I want to say like 2015, maybe 2016 is when I decided, okay, it's time to take the DNA test. Let's do it. It became reliable enough that we were just like, let's do it. And my mom took it with me just so that we could compare to see what popped up. And right there, and I can certainly pull it up on my phone, 50% Ashkenazi Jewish, and my mom did not have a single percent of Ashkenazi Jewish whatsoever.
Wow.
50%. And that was
It's so funny.
It's wild though that fertility clinic is like hanging its hat on this thing, and it's just like a complete and patent falsehood.
I mean, we can go into
Do
it.
you want to be the person in the news for suing somebody for the fact that I'm Jewish? I'm damaged.
Well,
But of course you want the money. Get you both directions. You're anti-Semitic and you're money grubbing.
but honestly, I mean, we could totally go into this. But the thing is, and that I talk about all the time on my TikTok and my Instagram, is that what happened to me is like tip of the iceberg.
Right, I'm
This
sure.
is like nothing compared to what so many people have gone through. And so I took the test when I was about like 25, 26. That's when I found out I was half Jewish. Then I located my donor when I was I think I was like 29. And then I found siblings when I was 30.
So you met your Jewish
Wow.
father.
Oh no, he wants no contact. I just know who he is.
Is he religious?
Yes, he's an OBGYN Orthodox Rabbi Moyle.
Stop it
Yes.
right now.
Yeah. And he is still in practice.
And he did this to get paid?
Oh Yeah, he donated. I found
Why are you
out.
looking? I'm just curious. I mean,
That's why people donate typically.
I found
Okay.
out this guy was donating for at least 6 years. We have no idea when he stopped, but he was donating all throughout medical school, and at least for me, donating when he was a full-on in-practice OBGYN.
now, how much? Well,
That
it's-
is so.
maybe the process is
crazy.
enjoyable. How much do they make?
I
Why
don't-
waste it?
I
Maybe it's a sin unless you don't. How much does he make per shot?
I have no idea how much he made in the 80s, but now donors make usually in between 100 to 150 like per donation.
Now, does it have to be?
But that's only for sperm donors, not egg donors.
Does it have to work? Like, does it have to actually get somebody pregnant, or you just make the money for the?
No, you
for
make
the
the
jizz?
money for the.
What they would do first is like they're obviously going to
I
like
think.
test your sperm out
Yeah,
and
it
go
has-
like, is it fertile? Is it
It
viable?
has to be viable.
It has to be viable. And then if it is viable, then they're like, great, you are now like an approved donor. Like, let's start setting you up. And donors can donate between like 1 to 3 times per week for a year's or multiple years.
Do you feel any
That's awesome.
desire to meet this man, or is he anything to you other than just the guy that donated?
Other
your
than your
sperm?
doctor.
Other than my for me, I would say what I would love from him is medical history, because I do have medical issues that definitely seem like they're from his side, and my siblings who I have talked to so far,
Tay-Sachs?
I was just gonna.
not to get too dark, but actually a tumor on the bottom of my brain. The tumor's gone now. It was benign. It wasn't malignant. But the tumor was on my pituitary gland, which basically caused my thyroid and my adrenals to like basically like just go complete out of whack. But I had been showing signs of a hormonal disorder since I was like 13 years old. And my other siblings seem to have also been having very similar hormonal issues. So, and one of my sisters like has like a crap load of like autoimmune disorders. Like there seems to be some very serious problems, and none of it seems to be from any of our maternal side. So it all kind of leads back to him. And so we are like literally, I literally sent him an email going like, I will sign anything you want. All we want is medical history. That's it.
And he didn't write you back.
No, I've
Maybe we can get him on the show.
maybe
That'd be a great idea. You give us his name. We'll get him on the show.
That is
Yes.
We'll get him on the show for
appalling.
something else entirely.
Yeah. And
That-
say surprise.
Oh my God, I'll do it.
What is it? What are we like? The or the Jerry Springer show?
Yeah, well, want to talk
Lori-
about OBGYN shit.
Okay, that is
That'd be so awesome.
appalling.
That'd be our greatest show ever.
Yeah.
Better than I'm not gonna even say it.
But he knows who you are.
Oh yeah, at this point he absolutely does.
He's ashamed of you.
Oh, 100%.
Well, but you know what? If you-
Absolutely ashamed of
If
me.
you become a big star, all of a sudden be like, "That's my daughter."
I'll let you
Jump
guys.
off the old block.
I will absolutely let you guys know if like suddenly like my career takes off and suddenly I get a call from like Daddy Doctor.
guess
like
so.
if he starts calling me and
Yeah, that's so. These siblings of yours, do any of them like? Noam's fascinated by twins separated at birth studies. About how sometimes they meet each other and they both go to the same school and they both have the same profession. Any of your siblings comedians in New York or something that's like
well,
staggeringly similar to you?
not to me necessarily. So far, I should say not so far.
How
I
many
will
are there?
right
I think there's
now.
like 50 of them, right?
Well, right now
This is
it
like
is
boys from Brazil.
it is guessed that I have over 50 siblings.
Okay.
But right now, but that's considered a moderate pod due to the other pods that actually exist out in the world. I mean, there are pods that I've personally spoken to.
Well, pod is a term of art that we're not familiar
Oh,
with.
I apologize. A pod is like a sibling pod of like half donor conceived siblings. There are pods that are over hundreds of kids each within the United States. Some of them have been like born as early as just a couple of years ago. This is still a problem within the United
But
States.
wait, there's some of those pods are the fertility doctor was supposed to use the dad's
Yes.
sperm, and he substituted his own sperm. That's those guys are going to hell.
Well, let me make that situation even worse for you. Because I was in January, I was actually in Washington D.C. helping to lobby for the fertility fraud legislation, which would criminalize that absolute egregious act. Because right now, fertility fraud. So what you are referring to is fertility fraud, when a doctor switches out the chosen gametes for their own, whether that is sperm, egg, embryo. But so far, we've only caught doctors switching it out for their own sperm.
Obviously.
Obviously, we have caught in the United States, over 70 doctors doing this. None of them have gone to jail. Some of them have continued practicing and never lost their medical license. A lot of them get caught when they already were retired. Some of them have ended in NDAs, so we don't really know like exactly what happened. But most doctors absolutely just get away with this.
Some of the Jewish women are probably happy to have a doctor.
I think maybe they would have preferred it with a little less rape, maybe a slight less rapey vibe.
Listen, the thing is also, just to backtrack for 1 second,
Yeah.
that's so insane,
It's insane.
is that these medical issues like should have been vetted out to begin with, right? Like they're supposed to be testing the sperm and to
In
let
those days,
There-
they didn't do that.
Well, they still don't.
And
There's
also, there's
no
not everything can be tested.
So there's a couple.
I mean,
of
I don't know that you can
things.
test a sperm for a benign pituitary
You can
gland
test for
too.
broccogene and stuff like that, right?
So you can test for BRCA but so there's a couple of things with it. One, there is the only regulation, the only FDA regulation that we have currently in the United States in terms of donor screening is an STD test. We have no other.
And everybody fails that.
Everyone fails that now. We have no regulation. What we have is what is called ASRM guidelines. ASRM is the American Society of Reproductive Medicine. They create guidelines for the clinics and cryobanks to follow, which in anyone who has watched Pirates of the Caribbean knows it's a guideline. We don't have to fucking follow that shit. So what ends up happening is it really just depends on what the banks and clinics are feeling that day. And so there's no it's such a free-for-all. It's an it is the most unregulated branch of medicine. There isn't a sibling cap in the United States. So these clinics and cryobanks can literally pump out kids like freaking Skittles as much as they want.
And there's the risk of incest if you don't know, if you bump into somebody.
Which has happened. So like so when you ask me like, about like, stories of like twins finding each other.
Yeah.
So I have personally spoken to donor conceived people who were best friends growing up. Had no idea. Went to the same school. Had no idea. Had a crush on each other. Had no idea. Dated the same person. And I do know donor conceived people who were high school sweethearts.
Ooh.
And had no idea.
I will say I have read that, incest generally revolts us. We have no sexual attraction toward our siblings.
I would say that it doesn't revolt everybody, but go ahead.
But that's
We hope it does.
from what I've read.
I'm an only child, but I know.
From what I've read,
yeah.
that's not because you're too similar. That's because when you grow up with somebody, that you automatically kind of don't have a sexual.
It's like marriage.
But the truth is that siblings, if they didn't grow up together, are often very attracted to each other.
Oh.
That's what I've read.
It is a really weird phenomenon because what ends up happening is when you do not grow up with like biological family. And this isn't like a blanket statement. This happens to everybody. This does happen in some cases. Is if you have not experienced what is called like genetic mirroring. So like hypothetically, like let's say you and I are related, and I can experience genetic mirroring with you. Like maybe we.
Well, you guys are related.
Well, who the fuck knows?
Well, Ashkenazi Jews are so inbred.
We might be cousins, but like I can see like okay, like maybe there's similar hair texture, there's similar nose, there's similar cheek structure that I never got to see myself in my own family because it wasn't biological family members. So what ends up happening with a lot of these siblings is they experience genetic mirroring with their siblings for the first time. They don't know what's going on. They just are like, wow, there's a connection.
Right.
I see something in you that I see in myself. Wow, I feel this. And they mistake the genetic mirroring for romance. And so there
It is romance. What is romance? Romance is whatever you feel.
But it is a real.
No, they feel a connection.
They feel a connection.
Woody Allen used to say that love is the crazy idea that one woman is any different from another. It's not me saying it. That was Woody Allen. Go ahead. Or something like that.
He definitely lived up to that with his stepdaughter, but that's fine. But yeah, no, it's a real problem. And we have seen very serious problems with that. And especially because the fertility industry literally has made pods of hundreds of siblings. And typically, like if you use the same clinic, and it's not like 100 siblings are spread evenly throughout the entire world, they typically are in the same location.
Right.
So they might be in the same school
Now-
as you mentioned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're in the same school.
Now you're married, I see,
I am married. Yes.
and you're married to a Jewish guy.
I am not married to a Jewish guy. We did.
You just became Jewish, and already you're marrying outside your religion. Go ahead.
I was okay. You'd as a donor conceived person, I am terrified of accidental incest. So before we even got engaged, I was like, dude, we are taking a DNA test. I need to know that I am far as removed related to you as humanly possible. So it was very good to see on our ancestry that I was like, nothing. Fantastic. That's what I wanted to see.
Now, do you consider that your children are Jewish?
I mean, I wasn't raised within the culture.
No,
I have
not about that, but just like
No, I mean, I always say like I'm half Ashkenazi Jewish. I never say like I am Jewish. That to me feels like that to me feels like I'm claiming something that isn't mine.
We're gonna have you for
No,
a
no,
couple
you're
of
Jewish.
Shabbats,
Well,
and-
no, her biological father is. So by Jewish law, she's not Jewish.
oh, it's her father that's just.
Well, but sperm-
Where
Stupid,
have you
Where do you
been?
think sperm
Yeah, yeah,
comes
I know.
from?
For some reason, I was just.
Anyhow,
yes, it's my age. Yeah, of course, you're not Jewish. Yeah, yeah.
That was the quickest flip flop I've
I don't
ever
know-
seen.
I don't know what the hell I was
I
thinking
felt
about.
so welcomed for a moment, and then it was just like,
Yeah.
no, fuck
Do
you.
you have
thank you for
any-
coming.
you
No
have-
luck, no luck is for you. Fuck off.
do you have any affinity for either the religion or I mean, Israel's going through some shit now. Do you have any affinity, any desire to go on birthright or whatever?
I mean, I am lactose intolerant, so
Okay.
you know that I do have that for me. I mean, I have always, for me, like the I would say my neighbors, my schoolmates, my best friends have always been Jewish. Like that's a culture that's always literally just been my next door neighbor. I've been to more Jewish weddings than any other kind of wedding. So for me, I've always. I mean, the culture was always my next door neighbor, so I've always loved it, and it's always been integrated within my life. And I have started speaking actually to a rabbi here and there, as to kind of like maybe like dip my toe into like thinking about kind of like conversion and stuff like that. I will say though, I was raised Catholic, so I still am working through all of my like fucking Catholic trauma. I was an altar server. I went to Catholic school, so like for me, any religion, I'm just like I don't want to.
So are your parents like pretty Catholic then?
My mother's side is very.
But by the way,
Catholic,
here's
yes.
the question: growing up, did you ever hear anything out of your parents' mouth? Maybe not anti-Semitic, but like these Jews,
No, never did.
Okay.
No, never did.
Were they scandalized when they found out that you were Jewish after they had
didn't give a shit.
No, but after they had told them that like, oh, the most important thing is that they're going to be the same religion as you.
No, I mean, 'cause
No, they didn't care.
No, they didn't.
They
give a
already
shit.
liked you.
Because they luckily they like me. No, I mean, if my doctor had told my parents saying we don't have any Catholic sperm,
Right,
we
they
don't.
wouldn't have cared.
Which I mean, Catholic sperm, it's it's great on its knees, but like no Catholic sperm available. All we've got is this Ashkenazi Jewish donor. Do you accept it? My parents have been like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
they wouldn't
okay.
have given
that
a
makes
shit.
yeah, that makes
I
sense.
know. I want to
So-
ask you a question, Pearl. If you found out that your son was not actually your son,
What does that mean biologically?
it came out of her.
What,
It came out of
What do you
her.
mean?
well, it could have been implanted as whatever. Let's say you're doing IVF and they planted someone else's embryo in you and you didn't know,
Yeah.
and you actually been raised some Scott-Irish child.
I don't think it matters.
Well, they knew she wasn't her father's biological
No, but
daughter.
she said
should
it
we
didn't- it
explain the concept of sperm again?
No, she said this part. I know I'm spacing out, but she said that it didn't matter to her at all. It was her dad is just her dad. And I'm saying, would you feel the same? Would the parent feel the same way? It doesn't matter. My son's
I
still my
don't.
son.
I don't think it matters. I think that when you love your child, you love your child. I don't think it necessarily matters that if they're biologically yours or not. I also have heard.
It would matter to me.
I mean, I will say it does. I
It would.
I will say
I'm not saying I would throw them out of the house. I'm just saying I would. I'm sorry.
Here-
I will say the one area where it does get very as you kind of mentioned where it does get, I would say, emotionally very complicated is when the doctor switches out the dad's sperm in IVF for his own, and then you have the kids, the mom, the dad all realize what happened. That is a real shit situation.
Yeah.
And is that a legal cause of action there?
No, so far as I'm aware, no. I mean, no doctor has gone to jail for that whatsoever. Dr. Klein of Our Father did that.
That's just so crazy.
And I've met one of the families that has happened for, and it's heartbreaking, and it's such a shit situation. Everybody's a victim, and it takes, in order to nail a doctor for fertility fraud right now in the United States, if you're in a state that doesn't have fertility fraud passed in it, it is unbelievably hard. Like it's literally almost impossible.
Here's the thing: if you like, say your father thought you were his biological daughter, and then found out that the doctor switched in his sperm, suing him is in a way like saying, I'm unhappy with my daughter, right? I mean, you're saying like, I want my money back for this.
So you make a deal with your daughter to split it or something too.
Well, I mean,
but you know what I'm saying? It's like, this is who you raised and you love, and now you're saying
I'm damaged.
I totally hear that, but I disagree with that, because it was the doctor essentially raped your wife. I mean, I feel like suing is a very legitimate thing to do. I feel like
it's a criminal action.
Yeah.
But suing me is like, it's like saying you ripped me off.
Well, no, but that isn't that
I mean,
like
that's-
against.
I mean, because you can sue for emotional damages, because that is a bit emotionally damaging.
Right.
Now, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why is there no legal component to compelling the sperm donor to disclose medical records? Like, why don't you have any rights, or anybody have any rights to compel?
Very easy question, because we live in a capitalistic society, and I'm a product, and products don't have rights. I mean no more to the fertility industry than a mouse pad. I am a transaction. That is it. So I have no rights whatsoever. And that is what we deal with a lot with dealing with the fertility industry, is because they're basically like, why are the blenders speaking? I don't understand. Wait a sec.
I think, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought probably the way I would put it, but I would just say that I don't think you have rights with your biological parents either, number one.
What do you mean?
Meaning that, although practically speaking, you have much better chance of getting it from your parents, my kids have no right to sue me for my medical history either.
Totally. The difference is, and the
other thing I say is that I think eventually they will pass the law that you're saying as part of the donor process, but obviously the law is always a certain step behind the technology and the,
So what kind of an asshole wouldn't want to help out?
Okay, but let's leave aside sperm donating. Traditionally, if you give a child up for adoption,
Yeah.
you sign something where the orphanage agrees to never give your identity up, and there's a whole.
If you want that, yeah.
If you want that, which it's a typical thing, and in that situation, you also don't get access to the medical.
That used to be the case, I think, a very long time ago, but nowadays there are all different sorts of arrangements
Right,
when you're adopting.
So as that's what I'm saying. Things catch up with this technologies, but it's there was a time when nobody even understood the importance of medical histories. Then the medical histories. Well, now we're at the point where the genes themselves can tell you a real story about medical history. But I guess we're in between where it's still you'd want to match those up with the actual phenotype, as it were, of the donor, rather than just being able to tell just by looking at your genes.
So the difference.
Just don't knock capitalism on my show, all right?
I apologize. I don't mean to knock capitalism. So here's the difference is between, because you mentioned like
capitalism developed all that technology. Go ahead.
So
you wouldn't be here.
I was,
go get a sperm donation in Gaza, all right?
I was packaged brilliantly by capitalism. But the difference between, I would say, like, because you were like, my children cannot sue me for medical history. You're absolutely right. But I think it is also a false equivalence, because you having your own kids is very different than how I came. Because for me, how I was made was a multi-billion-dollar industry was profiting off of my literal conception. And that's what makes a big difference. For me, is that the fact that you have that literal big of an industry, massive industry, and they're actively profiting off of all of us with absolutely no ethical care for our literal lives. Like, as soon as like the parents get pregnant with us, they don't give a shit. because they don't view us as patients. The parents are the patients. We are not. And
They're just like, our job here is done.
our job here is done. And I understand the idea of like, no, you're not our patient, but the parent is the patient. Like, I sort of get it, but we are a secondary patient.
100%.
They really should not do this with Jewish sperm. Because I mean, look at the trouble they've wrought. Like a loudmouth Jew wants to sue.
Well,
Bringing out all the angles, making the arguments. Like, are you sure Dershowitz wasn't your father?
Well, I mean, that's a part of that I always kind of, I'm like, you fuckers, you made me deal with me, for fuck's sake. Like, you created an army of us. We're your fucking
What
problem.
a shock! She's Jewish.
Here's the thing, though. Your point is a really good one, because it's almost like all of these pro-life people who don't give a shit about these babies once
Oh, here
they're
we go.
born. Right? It's like everybody's anti-abortion, but once the baby's born and the biological parents don't want them or can't take care of them, they're not.
I like that
rushing
we
to-
I don't know.
recycle that dumb argument at least once every 5 shows.
It's not dumb. It's true.
what medical information do you want to know? I mean, you know your father's. I guess you know he's still alive and reasonably healthy at whatever age. How old is he right now?
He's alive. I have no idea how
Wait a
old he is.
second.
Well, we could
Can
find
I
that
go
out.
to his office and just like make an appointment?
Oh my God.
Just-
I would buy you the biggest dinner in the world.
I
And
will. He's an OBGYN.
He's an OBGYN.
Oh my God. This could be the best experiment ever.
Oh, we should
I
totally.
will say
let's
he's
do-
got
let's go
he's got a very nice office because I've contacted him twice. I dropped a letter off at his office and then I've emailed him. His office is very nice. His secretary is lovely.
We're going to talk about this off
So-
air.
so-
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
go
I'll-
60 minutes on his ass. Come on.
What-
I will tell you what neighborhood he's in. I know.
You think
I
you
can
think you have a
get-
lot
I
of
can-
followers now?
wait,
Well,
hold
half
on.
the followers are her siblings.
Hold on, wait a second. I'm gonna because
I can guess what. I'll tell you what neighborhood he's in. How about that?
Let's see if we're right. Hold on.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Uh,
I don't want this public where he
Can't see it.
is.
You know what neighborhood he's
It's a
in.
blank thing.
Oh, here, hold on a second. It just went away. I'll help you out. But no, I don't want, because I've been asked many times, like, where is he? What's his name? I'm very careful with his identity because even though he's being like a total, like, tool right now, I still never want to leak his identity because if I ever did, because I have over 600,000 followers, the amount of, like, death threats this guy would get would be unbelievable. So
Very
I'm very
nice.
careful.
So,
I'm very careful.
well,
with
back
his
to my question.
identity.
What health info would you like to know?
Anything that he would like, anything I would love to know about, obviously any kind of cancers, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, literally anything, rheumatoid arthritis,
Impotence.
Well, you know what it.
well,
but-
clearly none of that.
well, there
clearly we don't have a problem with that.
there are things you can do something about. If you know you have Alzheimer's
Mhm.
in your genetic code, is that going to help you in any way?
Absolutely, because I mean, when you go to the every time I go to the doctor, they always are asking me like, what's your family history with heart attacks?
Mhm.
And I go, I don't know. What is your family history with cancer? I don't know. I have to tell them literally every time I'm missing half of my medical history. Now, luckily, we live in New York City.
So you just to be on the safe side, I would recommend a colonoscopy
Yes.
every 5 years.
Every 5 years. Fuck that. We're doing every 2 years. I'm neurotic. So, but we are. But no, I always have to tell the doctors I'm missing half my medical history, and because of that, very lucky. They run extra tests for me just to be careful, and that is how I ended up at the endocrinologist who was able to find the tumor, and I've been on medication now for 2 years.
As I said, though, there are certain things like Alzheimer's, like there's nothing they can really do for it anyway.
Well, there's a drug
Oh,
now.
Well, and also, not to mention, is also mental health, because you can't test for mental health.
Oh no,
and-
I can diagnose you right now.
Yeah,
Ah,
but
shit.
the good news is
Well,
if-
we already went over that,
the
narcissism.
good news is if you're going to go nuts, you'd have done it by now.
I mean, there's still time. There's still time.
Generally speaking, these things, hit you in your adolescence.
Absolutely, but but I would still love to know, because maybe for me, I didn't. Maybe I would say maybe any mental health disorder. I mean, I do have an anxiety disorder. If that was not clear
You
to
didn't
everybody,
need
I
a
don't think.
test to do that. You just needed to find out you were half Jewish.
But what about my kids as well? because my kids, like, what happens when they're born, maybe because I have no idea, like, let's say hypothetically on my paternal side, bipolar disorder runs in it. Now, maybe I don't have bipolar disorder, but maybe my child will. Bipolar disorder and any kind of mental health is extremely hard to diagnose, and we have seen that same exact issue with in other donor conceived people, when like a donor has had like schizophrenia, stuff like that. It's very, very hard to diagnose, especially when you don't have a proper medical history. So yes, maybe these things are not going to personally affect me in my life, but they could affect my children, because my husband and I are hopefully we're going to be starting to try next year.
You probably do have some mental issues from your dad, because think about what he's doing.
Oh no,
he's like donating to trying to create a pot of kids.
I mean,
that's
very annoying children.
Do you know all?
What is the profile of the average donor? Is it obvious? Is it typically financially motivated, or some people just want to have progeny?
It's I would say that's hard, and it's also hard for us to actually get like much truth behind it. I mean, a lot of donors are like college age kids, and they're paying for like their books, they're paying off student loans.
And your father was in med school when he donated?
My father was in med school. Yeah.
Okay, so he's probably
all 50 kids.
No, but then he got in the habit. It became a routine.
Well, you only need one load to get that's billions of kids right there.
But it seems like at a certain point
you don't know. So you don't know if you're the same. Never mind. It's too. I mean, the same squirt for.
Okay, so no. That's a totally good question, because this is no, it actually is, because this is a misunderstanding that a lot of people have. Yeah. A lot of people assume one squirt equals one donation, and that's not true. They're able to take one donation, and depending how much mass a dude is able to donate, how fertile he is, they break it up into multiple sellable vials. So that one load can be anywhere between 3 sellable vials to 19 sellable vials is the most we've ever heard of. So
that was a Jewish guy?
I didn't. I don't think it was that one. I know wasn't Jewish. It wasn't a Jewish guy.
That's a stereotype I've never heard of.
I'm just assuming.
But I do
assuming
know
a correlation.
One thing we didn't talk about is I do actually know that I was only specifically one load. Because so my.
You mean you're
I am.
You have
one
no other
load,
siblings.
Laura.
You have no siblings.
That's a great title.
You have no siblings.
That's going to be the name of my special.
That's
One load, Laura.
That's a
we
great
just figured
title.
it out.
I mean, you're no other siblings.
That's
from
my
that
donation.
No, I definitely was one, and I can tell you exactly why I know that. So my parents were trying for 3 years with fertility treatments. My mom went through 3 years of hormone therapy and 2 surgeries. Her last surgery was a full reconstruction, and then she was holidaying on. She was ovulating on a holiday weekend.
Holidating.
Yeah, you said holiday.
Sorry, I apologize.
Again, Star Trek.
This is why I say I always test out my brand new jokes on an open mic, because I can't fucking do that. Otherwise, I have to. Because otherwise, I jumble shit. But she was ovulating on the Jewish New Year, so the clinic was closed. And they were like, we can't do an insemination. And she was just like, because like if you're in hormone therapy for 3 years, and this was in the 80s, so there was like so much experimental shit going on. She was like, please help me out. What can we do? Now, my parents were the very first patients of this clinic and of this doctor. So a lot was riding on this. So he's told my mom and my parents, don't worry about it. I'll set it up so that you go pick the sperm up at a hotel concierge, then you can go inseminate it with your husband.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
You really shouldn't. Okay. This shouldn't be an option. Now, Jewish New Year is Yom Kippur, right?
No.
Rosh
Hashanah. You're close. You're very close.
Okay, I'm learning.
But why was the clinic closed on a Jewish New Year if it was?
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
Okay. All right.
It was closed because of Rosh Hashanah.
Okay. Fine.
That is as much information as I have.
Okay.
So on Rosh Hashanah, my donor donated fresh, hot sperm into a cup, put it in a paper bag, dropped it off at a hotel concierge. My mom picked it up, went to my father's office because my dad was still goddamn working. My dad couldn't take a day off for this, and I was inseminated on my father's desk. And my mom just put her legs up as my dad went back to his spreadsheet.
His spread legs, a spreadsheet.
Wait,
do they use a funnel?
I mean, it's like a
a syringe.
It's a syringe. It's like
you squirt it in there.
It's like a turkey baster, essentially. Yeah.
He went into the cup and your father himself, your biological father, delivered it himself?
No.
Well, that we have no
Oh.
idea who actually delivered it. I mean, it may have been my biological father. I have no idea. But the guy donated. It was dropped off at the
Okay.
hotel concierge. I would have to believe it was him. Like, I don't think he had like, a runner for sperm. I might be wrong. I don't.
I would imagine
know.
a clinic would have
Was-
been
you
in
know-
charge.
But the clinic was closed.
Oh, right.
The clinic was closed. Like, my doctor called in a favor to a friend.
In those days, it was a lot of like these black guys on bicycles, the messenger services. That was a big thing back then. Remember? How, like you would
Yeah,
call a
but-
messenger and they deliver it.
I
Could have
don't
been
think
that.
sperm was a
Yeah.
typical one.
No, but they don't know what's
hope
in. They
so.
don't know what's in the.
Well, now they would
it's
use
bubble wrap.
Postmates. I
Yeah,
suppose.
Postmates for sperm.
Uber
Yeah,
Eats.
No, they have
Uber
Uber
Eats.
sperm.
Uber sperm. That's good.
Spunkmates.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh my god.
So have you met? How many of your siblings have you met?
I've not met any in person, but I have spoken. Right now, so far,
I think Leah Lamar might be one of your pod mates.
one of my newest sibling that I found, which is a brother. He's actually from Brooklyn. I have reached out to him. He has not messaged me back, which I'm not going to push because I have no idea what his story is. I don't know if like he was ever told that he was donor conceived or if I just suddenly spoiled the surprise.
Well, that's not nice. That's a pretty, that's a harsh thing for you to do.
Well, it's you do it delicately. There's a way to do it.
There's no delicate way to do that.
Yeah, but you gotta know. If
You should not have done that.
you have to. I'm literally listed as half sister.
That is a selfish thing to do.
23andMe did it. It's there. It literally has us labeled as half siblings. The cat is out of the bag.
No.
Well, that
no.
means wait,
That is
if
some
it- that means-
cognitive dissonance
Look,
right
dude,
there.
If 23andMe listed him, that means he did a 23andMe.
He
as
did a
well.
Right, but
23andMe.
I did 23andMe. I don't read all the stuff they send me. I might have, you don't notice.
All I said was,
You should not be the person that breaks it to somebody
You're right. It
that their
should've-
parents are not their parents.
You're right. It should have been his parents, but this is the situation we are in.
Nobody needs to ever tell him.
Oh no, he absolutely needs to know because he's walking around with a false medical history that could end up getting him killed.
Oh, it's not going to get him killed. Now,
It-
come on now.
No, it's gotten donor conceived people killed. It has killed donor conceived people.
How's
has-
that? How's that?
Because you have a false medical history.
What could get you killed?
What could get you killed? Because there have been
You're
times
not getting timely colonoscopies, for example.
you're not getting the proper screenings because there are certain things that you can't test for. So what ends up happening is donor conceived people have not gotten their right medical history or have gotten a false medical.
For instance, like what?
I just told you.
Everybody gets a colonoscopy.
Yeah, but if you have family history, you might get it earlier. You might get it more frequently.
All right, but what are you referring to?
There is a case in particular. I don't know if I'm allowed to go public with it, so I can't give the very specifics of it. I can certainly talk.
So
about
how many families have you ruined?
How many families? I haven't ruined any. The parents didn't fucking tell their kids the truth. That ain't my goddamn fault. But what has happened is there have been donor conceived people who have gotten a false medical history, and because they didn't get screened in time for their proper things, it has ended up getting them killed. That has happened, and it's why in New York City we are specifically asking. We've put forward the bill, the Donor Conceived Persons Protection Act, which would require all clinics and banks to verify the medical history that a donor hands in. So it has. So the fact that this guy's or any of my siblings or any donor conceived person is walking around not knowing that they're donor conceived is literally dangerous to them. When you are going in, so for example,
It could potentially, in certain low probability cases, be dangerous to them.
But it has. But it has
Yeah,
happened.
Yes, but
Wait
it's
a
not like-
second. How many years have you known that you've had siblings? 10 years?
I've only known that I've had siblings for 5 years.
Okay.
It's no more dangerous than if you have a parent who dies young.
Yeah, but again, as we went back, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, though, that is letting this happen.
By
Right, but
design.
hold up. But listen, I don't really care, but I don't agree with you because yes, there is that physical, medical potential
Mhm.
risk. Although I'm not really like that, maybe get colonoscopy early or whatever it is. But
Because
on the other
for-
side is emotional devastation. That's something too. Like you shrugged it off that your father wasn't your
Mhm.
father, but someone else might never recover from that.
So here's the thing, and
Especially
we've
because they
got-
find out that their parents lied to them. They might not even ever been known.
But what she said, what Laura said also.
Why you take her side?
Because I'm
Because
on
it's
her
logical.
So
side.
she's agreeing with her.
And
right?
because also it's true that I have very close friends who've been adopted. I also have very close friends who have kids that were conceived by donor egg in their case. And if you don't know, you really do go around
So you
feeling,
don't.
wait, let me finish. Feeling like something is off. And then when you find out, oh, I was adopted, it all makes sense
Okay,
now.
so that's fine, but you don't see any, like, at least issue here that's complicated. Like, I find out that your dad is not your dad. You're a
Well,
sperm
he is
donor.
my dad.
Well,
He's
no.
not my biological.
All right, whatever.
No, I knew that
Yeah,
was
you
going to
know,
piss you
I
off.
find
it's an
out.
important
I
distinction.
find out that your father is not your biological father.
Mhm.
That someone else donated, and they never told you.
It's fucked
And
up.
like-
They should have told me.
And you'd be like, "Oh, go tell her."
Well,
Like,
I don't think
What?
it's
Why
that
do you go?
cavalier.
Of course, you should go tell her. Why should I go tell?
Because
Look,
I have a right to know.
Because that's your literal body. You have
But
the right.
Laura, do you think there's any way that somebody that does a 23andMe that lists a half sibling would not notice that? In other words,
Yeah.
your half sibling
yes,
is a 23andMe, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So
And his says that you're his half sibling.
it literally
Is
on
there any way he
23andMe.
didn't notice
Yes,
that?
absolutely. Because you take your 23andMe first,
Right.
and then you never check it again. So you don't even ever get the notification if someone else has been.
But that doesn't make sense then why you did 23andMe. If you did 23andMe or you did Ancestry, it's literally because you're interested in connections.
And by the
no,
way,
that's not why I ever did it.
also if he
Why did you
I did
do
it to
it?
find out about my genetic,
And also
my nationality makeup and all that
Jewish.
stuff,
Also-
and to find out to find out whatever traits, my
But
musical
he-
ability, intelligence, whatever it is.
But he specifically said, but he specifically chose, I want to see DNA relative matchups. He literally signed up for it. Also, I just want to let you know, because just an FYI, 23andMe is not a medical grade test. So if you did look
Oh, I
at
know.
it.
I do the better ones now.
Okay, but none of them are. If you actually want to get a medical grade test, you need to go see a genetic counselor or a geneticist. Any of those at-home tests are not. medical grade.
I had one that my doctor sent me to.
Oh, okay, then okay, all right.
What do
I
you
just want to
mean
make
when
sure.
you do
Also-
them now? How often do you do them?
I had one. I've done a few of them.
Why?
also if this particular
Let him get it
particular brother, you know his name?
Yeah, I do.
So say his name is Figueroa or
Mordechai.
or Rodriguez.
Okay.
And he did a 23andMe and it says half Ashkenazi. The cat's out of that bag. So the chances are
Well,
that he knows.
He's actually he's about almost 100% Ashkenazi.
Oh. Okay.
So far,
So-
I'm the
okay,
only.
you're the
one,
only one that
I am
happened
so
to.
far the only one that was not raised in a Jewish household.
Maybe they should sue you.
I'm
maybe
so far
maybe
the
your
only one.
your donor dad is the one who got ripped off here. Maybe he specified
Oh.
that it should only go to Jewish.
I can't
I-
wait to meet him.
I don't think that's possible to specify.
I'm kidding. Anyway, but yeah, I listen. I'm not saying you did the wrong thing by
That
saying
is
that,
what you
Because
said.
but
I
don't
didn't.
I don't think it's at all a no brainer about
I hear
how
what
that
you're
should be
saying. I hear
handled.
what
Well,
It's
we
just
have
a
the
delicate-
reason we have done surveys, we have done studies on donor conceived people who were early discoveries or late discoveries who found out through a DNA test. Like, we've done this, so what I did was backed up by surveys, has been backed up by people who do this professionally. So like, I understand for
Oh,
somebody.
your survey.
Yeah, we've done these things.
Well, let me just tell you this: if somebody were to come to me tomorrow and say, "Listen, well, I have some news for you. Your dad was not your
Biological.
Now, has it,
I'd be like, who the fuck? What kind of nerve do you have to drop that on me? I don't give a shit about knowing my regular medical history. That devastates me. I didn't want to know that.
You wouldn't? You really wouldn't want to know?
Of course not.
has
Why
anybody
not?
told? Has anybody told Judy Gold and her wife's son that he's a sperm donor, baby?
What the fuck's the matter with you?
That's a joke. though.
So here's the thing.
You should've-
That's legit, and you get to feel that way, but that's just not the majority of how donor conceived people feel.
Right, but you just
You are. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to know that. You're such a proponent for like
No,
such
I hear what Noam's
fierce
saying. It's like
honesty,
that-
though.
Whose place is it to tell somebody that kind of news?
The half sibling.
if somebody came up to me and said, "Listen, I've been fucking your wife," I said, "Listen, I didn't want to know that." like some people don't want to know things.
I like how that's like the thing that you didn't want to know.
Yeah, you know,
it's
somebody-
not the fact that you're like, I really don't want anyone
Somebody-
else fucking my wife, but you're like, just don't tell me.
Well, sometimes, but this is a
know what?
natural human reaction. Listen, there's an expression for it. Better left unsaid.
So
but
somebody
whatever.
actually recently told me that
Let sleeping dogs lie.
Somebody recently, a friend of mine told me that she said, "Oh, this so and so comic was like talking shit about you." Not somebody that I'm friends with, but somebody that I know. And I said, "Why?
Who the fuck was that?
I said, "Why would you tell me that?"
Yeah, I agree.
Why
with
would
that.
Who
you
was
tell me?
talking
She
shit
said,
about
well,
you?
if my friend was talking, well, I'm not going to mention his name.
Was it Ray Ellen?
I
It
wanted
was somebody that's an acquaintance, but not a friend. And
I agree with you, Dan.
she said, well, if somebody were talking shit about me, I'd want to know. I said, well, I don't, he's not really a friend of mine anyway.
Yeah, who
He's just
cares?
an acquaintance.
But
so
that's
now all
a
you're doing
little
is,
bit different.
all you're
than
doing is
what this
upsetting
is.
me.
Yeah.
This is slightly different
Okay.
because I agree with you. I wouldn't the fuck want to know. But
It's also the intention of somebody telling you that, like, why? But yeah, it's not the same thing.
But yeah, it's a bit of a false equivalence.
I guess so.
Can I ask you a personal
I threw
question?
it in.
Ask the fuck away.
How come you haven't met any of your siblings in person?
Because they find her annoying.
They're a bit far away.
Oh, really?
Yes. So the brother that I most recently found, he is within the area and he's the closest
But
one.
he doesn't want to talk to you.
He has not. Sometimes what we have found with donor conceived siblings is it takes a few years.
He's in
for
a
them to
mental
message.
institution with colon cancer.
One,
on a respirator.
Two siblings are both in Colorado.
Okay.
And they're full siblings that ended up using the same donor, our donor. And then we have another sibling in Seattle. The sibling who I am closest with, though, has been really very, very sick. She's been completely unable to travel and has not been able to have much interaction with people because she's so immunocompromised and with everything in the pandemic. So we've been waiting until she's in a safer space until I can go see her. And then her full sibling who is, she totally knows I'm here and everything, and she's just personally not ready for that yet, which I totally respect and understand. And for the record, they found me first. I did not find them.
They're non-binary?
No, both of the siblings.
Oh, okay.
No. No, it's saying full no, they're not. They're both cis women. But so one of the siblings wants to when she is healthy enough.
And what about, did you grow up with siblings? Like,
I have
She thought she did.
I do. I have a half sister who is 15 years older than me from my dad's first marriage.
Okay.
So we did not have, and she's adopted. So I'm a sperm donor baby. She's adopted from my dad's, so like we're all related like from my dad. So her and I is like
I'm
genetically.
just going to say she's your full sister then at that point.
I mean, we probably are related on the opposite ends, probably more than through my dad. But like we didn't have a traditional like sibling relationship in the least, but like we never lived together.
You should have good hybrid vigor, though. Heterosis, as they say.
What does that mean?
Means that
No more so than your kids.
no, not any more so than my kids. When you have two, the mating of people from two different gene pools, generally they're more robust health-wise because they get a mix of genes, and I guess it causes a lot of it reduces the number of recessive genes that.
Yeah, when you have like a better genetic diversity, that's always like we like that, which is also a big thing that we have an issue with the fertility industry is they are actually hurting the genetic diversity of our gene pool in the United States because they are letting
No more than the Hasidic community.
My guess is
Well, I don't think even with the Hasidic community, they're pumping out like 100 kids per one donor and just letting them run wild.
my guess is that
I don't think that I think that they sort of beat the Hasidic community with that.
because all her Jewish genes are reflected on the outside.
They certainly are.
Yeah, your inside, you got to be a pure Gentile on the inside. So I would think you had a strong Irish colon or something.
It's very
And
Polish.
No IBS.
Listen, whatever you marry, your husband's not Jewish.
Irritable bowel.
No, he's Italian.
So these Jews, all these genes will probably just go underground. But
you do look a lot like one of my cousins.
She looks like
Really?
She looks like Leah Lamar. Do you know Leah Lamar? She's a comic in LA, but in any case,
all right, we have to wrap it up.
not sure.
This is a fascinating story.
Very interesting.
And what's the name of
You
your
probably have
podcast?
families to wreck, so we should probably.
Yes.
I'm sorry. She just glared at me with a not. She didn't actually like that.
No, I'm fine with wrecking families. That's okay.
No, that hurt you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
Oh my God, no. It did
You're a
not.
comedian. You got to take it.
What's the name of your podcast?
Insemination.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, thank you. Insemination, and I'm next year going to be producing and filming my own docu-series that will also be called Insemination, where I'll be going around and interviewing all of these stories that I have been building for a very long time, and like all of these records that I have with like a lot of the pods that
Wait,
are.
I have a question though.
Please.
Since you can do it yourself with a turkey baster, are there any women who inseminate themselves with a dude who's not their husband, and the husband doesn't even know it? The woman does it because she wants to get a better high grade sperm.
You talking about like using a condom, going in, fishing a condom out of the?
No, she goes to get the sperm from the clinic and inseminates herself and
Oh,
never tells
God.
her husband.
I've never heard of that. If somebody did that, that's real shit.
Well,
but I've never heard of that.
Oh, you can
What
believe-
about
it would
what
happen.
about using like a condom and then you take the condom out of the garbage and you use the sperm?
Jesus
No, I mean, right? Is that possible?
Yeah, women do that. Yeah.
Is that
What do you mean?
if you're
women
rich
do that?
enough.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I love
There
how
has been
like,
some
it's
story
just
like
oh
that.
yeah, like we
Wait,
we talked
women
about-
do not take condoms out
There's
of the
been, I
garbage.
can't remember. I bet you if you Google it, can you Google it? There's somebody famous like that's happened to, or there's somebody famous who was paranoid about that.
It was
Did-
What?
Drake.
That happened to Drake?
He was paranoid about it.
I have never heard any woman talk about this on
No,
any of
it's
our
not a thing.
brunch
Of course,
dates.
it's as much a
I've
thing
never
as
heard
a
of
woman who
any-
would try to get pregnant by a famous celebrity.
Wait,
or a
can we?
rich guy.
Is there any? Can we find online if that's even possible? I think it might be. It might.
Oh no,
remotely
sperm.
it's possible.
If sperm is at the right temperature, it can live for
Outside.
outside the body for a certain. If it's at a certain temperature. and kept at a
Although
certain
most
temperature.
condoms have, that non-oxidant, whatever that is, the spermicide. But
non-oxidant, non.
Yeah.
But not all of them do, obviously. But no, I mean, sperm can live outside the body for a period of time. I don't know how long, but it just has to be at a certain temperature.
Imagine if you went on Jeopardy and somehow this was your cat. Like you know,
I
it's
would
such an odd
dominate.
expertise.
Well, it's
It's
I'm
incredible.
I'll take sperm for 1,000.
I'm known on TikTok as like the sperm girl, which I'm like, I love that
I
I'm
love
associated.
that.
But I have a sperm fascinator that I wear when I do like videos and like when I go and bother people on the streets and everything. I literally
I love this.
I literally organized the very first protest for donor conceived rights on October 15th, and I got a custom made cup filled with sperm costume for myself by a Broadway costumer that I ran around New
So good.
Orleans with.
It's so good.
It was the best money I have ever spent, hands down. I will say, though, my first sperm costume I got off of Amazon. That was $30, best $30 I ever spent as well. But that sperm costume literally was like, it was no longer fertile. It was no longer stood the test of time.
Okay. Did you find anything online or you're not looking it up?
well, you can technically, yeah, you can technically take it out of a condom.
Right, but has anybody famous ever had that happen to them?
It doesn't seem like there's any famous cases of it. Drake talked about putting hot sauce in condoms so women couldn't. But
And there's been stories about women putting pinholes.
But then you
in
have like
condoms.
you'd have a Hispanic baby if you put hot.
Look up Richard Gere and a gerbil. Is that one true?
Oh, for the love of God.
That's not true.
All right. Are we done?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much, Laura High. Do you have a spot tonight here?
I
Or
don't
you
have
came down
a
special for us.
no. Just came down special for you, but I will be here this coming Sunday. I have a spot here.
And where can people find you on TikTok and Instagram?
My
Laura High.
handle everywhere is at Laura High 5.
Nice.
Thank you. That literally, I will be on. I don't think I will ever come up with a greater thing than that. Like
Laura
that
High
is my pinnacle. Right
I don't
there.
know. One load's pretty good.
Hmm?
One load is
One
pretty
load
good.
Laura is like that. Well, that is the name of my special. The future special is One Load Laura.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Laura High. Podcast at comedycellar.com for comments, questions, suggestions. And I guess that's all. Thank you. Bye bye. We'll see you next time.
Did it?